So I'm very happy that I'm hosting this panel discussion that has the title Sports Cards and Memorabilia in the Modern Sports Industry. And it's powered by Trace and Chase, a company that I've worked with and for within the past years. And I'm very happy because it's a very interesting topic, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. And we have very interesting speakers. I will start with the introductions. Billy Mayho, International Sales and Business Development Director at Panini America. Hello,
Thank
Billy.
you.
Nice having you.
It's great being here.
David Rill, Vice President and Strategic Global Business Development at GDS Distribution. Hello, David.
Hi, Dora. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us. And last but not least, Mr. Ioannis Sobolos, CEO and founder of Trace and Chase SA. And I will start with Yanis because it's the only person I know. Personally, we've worked together in the past. We tried to introduce sports cards and memorabilia within the Greek market, which was something very new to the public and especially young children. And it was really fun working with Yanis. So Yanis, the floor is yours to start the discussion about sports cards and memorabilia.
Thank you, Dora. First of all, thank you all for being part of this and accepting our invitation. I know it's the time difference is not easy to manage in the US, but both Billy and David are here. Dora, thank you so much for hosting this panel. Yes, we've worked together in the past. For the people that don't know Dora, she's a basketball analyst, a TV presenter, and a clinical psychologist. Also, she's the first Greek woman to broadcast a EuroLeague game in Greece, and also a FIBA World Championship game in Greece, and also just one of the few women to lead the commentary of a basketball game in Europe. So, Dora, an honor.
Yanni, I deserve a Panini card for that.
Most probably
I deserve to have my own card.
That's probably coming. That's probably coming soon.
you for the introduction, but let's start because everyone is interested, and this is an open question, and I want you guys to start. We will start with Yanis, but everyone will take the floor. Let's talk about the basics. What are sports cards, and how this industry of sports card and memorabilia has evolved over the years?
So, guys, sports cards and memorabilia. Trace and Chase being in the forefront of retail and having to deal with consumers and fans every day. For us, the sports cards are just another way for fans and consumers to engage with their favorite leagues and players. So, they buy sports cards in order to collect and get their favorite players on a trading card, and that just makes it even more exciting watching the games, knowing that you have, as a fan, a piece, an item that directly connects you with your favorite player or league. So I think it's very, very simple. It's just like a consumer buying a hat that has their favorite team logo or a jersey of their favorite player. It's very, very simple. It's just another iteration of that connection.
Absolutely.
Billy?
Yes, absolutely, honest. You keyed on it. It's community. No matter at what level, sports trading cards is based off of a community that's worldwide. We've seen that in the last few years. The globalization of Panini America's business, the leagues expanding to market over market, and the amplification of each sport that we represent has been fantastic to watch from a business perspective. But also from somebody that was not a core collector growing up, I'm able to see the growth of the overall industry, and it's been a fun ride for me. David?
Yeah, well said, gentlemen. I think one aspect of sports card collecting that has really evolved is the global acceptance of trading cards as a collectible and a connection to fans, like Giannis said. Trading cards have been around for 150 plus years. So, but some people are just finding out about them. And so it is that connection to the player, to the leagues, to specific teams. And there's also a lot of collectability aspect to it that imparts a lot of value, and supply and demand and economic equations factor into it too. So there's emotional connections and also can be financial connections to the person holding the card as well.
Well said, guys. And I think if we add, because this is another interesting topic, the technology factor and how, via social media and all those things now, players and leagues became more popular the past years. So what is the evolution of technology in production and final product delivery? And what is your experience with that? How is technology, connecting collectors? And it's making you reach out to sell more products, create more products, produce more products. How technology has helped, collectors worldwide?
Wow, that's a great question. From the manufacturing perspective, on this side of the business, technology has helped us because we've been able to spur off different brands. Our brands are identified by various levels of parallels and other technology, chromatic finishes, things like that. These things, from an overall evolution of the trading card, the basic principle is it's a man or a woman on a card. It's printed there. The supply and demand is dictated by the player's performance, regardless of which league or which sport. And so we as a community follow that, and we tend to focus on who is performing better than others. But from a historic perspective, speaking to vintage, there's always a favorite player that collector will go after. I think it's important that we recognize the different categories of consumer that we're dealing with, whether it be a collector or someone that's in it for just the business perspective.
Yeah, and to echo that, I think the evolution, when you look at trading cards from where they came from, they were a throw in terms of supporting a particular product or advertising a product or incentivizing something to buy a product, whether was tobacco or candy or something like that. And so where we are now in terms of the evolution, obviously technology has taken over and allowed more real-time marketplaces and real-time access and social media aspects that have really elevated the product. But the product itself has evolved from a standpoint of a giveaway item to something that's highly sought after. In the past, you used to have to provide a piece of gum, for example, with the product. But now the product stands on its own with all the technological advances. The autograph content, memorabilia embedded in the card has created an item that's sought after in itself. So you could talk a lot about the technology, but the evolution of just the product alone is pretty significant in terms of what it's evolved to as a valuable asset.
Yeah, absolutely agreed and well said. I just want to point out that let's not forget that this is the sports industry. This is the second largest in the world, probably just behind music, right? In terms of figures and reach. So it was about time for trading cards to be a standalone product, right? After all these years. Through the history of sports cards, we've seen ups and downs. And the most significant up and down was in the 90s. But then, a few years back, COVID hit. And what COVID did to all other industries, it had a very different effect in ours, right? I wasn't part of this industry at that moment. From a business perspective, I was just a collector. But what did you guys see during that time?
Well, what's significant to me in the modern era of trading cards is the relevance of the digital age coming to life. COVID made us, shack up, made us stay put in a home or an office space by ourselves. As a result of that, we saw an evolution of the type of consumer as well as the presentation of breaking and other. COVID created a marketplace that had disposable income, but looking at the globalization of the digital age and the ability to market these worldwide at a click of a button really was extremely significant in the last probably 5 to 7 years. But it was, like we said, amplified by the lockdown of COVID, and as a result, we saw one of the largest peaks in the industry, I think, to date.
Yeah, for sure, Billy. And I think another thing that happened during COVID that really put sports card collecting and entertainment cards in general on the map was the nostalgic factor and the connection. You couldn't be at a game to see your favorite player at the time, but in addition to that, you tried to find ways to get close to the players that you wanted, and you also connected with those things that were nostalgic to you, things that you had time to think about the things that really brought you joy in life, maybe as a young child or collecting with a father or a mother or a sister or a brother or something like that, or friends. And that really helped escalate the sports card collectability during COVID as well. People were really trying to go back to their roots, and disposable income, those that had it were entertaining themselves through collecting cards in a lot of ways.
So guys, my next question is a bridge for our next topic that has to do with market trends. But before we go to that, looking from my perspective as a journalist, when we try to, I'm going to use this selling news, allow me to say, we're always looking at, the league is very important, the team and the players. Okay, we have 3 different factors, but what is the most important thing is success. So how, a successful player with numbers or a team winning a lot, and I'm going to take you back a lot, the value of the Boston and the Boston Celtics and the Lakers was the value of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Then we go to the value of Michael Jordan with the Bulls. So everything was raising due to the players. not only because the team was winning or because it was a very popular league. So how important is for you guys, and how important is for the products, the players' value?
I'm just going to jump in here and just say that, first and foremost, player success, player numbers, player performances are the number one driver, no doubt. If a player does well, puts up the numbers, then his card's values are going to go up. As simple as that. There is another aspect, though, that has to do with how the personality of the player is accepted in popular culture, on social media, for example. Or is he lovable? Is he out, speaking a lot, commenting a lot? Is he somebody, let's say, like Kawhi Leonard, that doesn't express his feelings too much? This actually will affect how popular his cards are, his memorabilia are, and the respective values. So it's a combination of performance and numbers on the field, in the court, and how likable he is from the general public. Last but not least, because you mentioned vintage, Dora, I think scarcity is the most important factor. You're going to see players that don't sign a lot of autographs, and they're not that good, but there are not so many items out there. Their values, those item values are high. At the same time, you see legends that will sign every month different memorabilia, jerseys, cards, and there's just, a lot of it in the market. Values go down. So I think these are the three key factors when we're talking about player values. I don't know if I missed anything, but guys.
You nailed that one, Giannis. I think, like you said, starting with player performance and the likability of the player are really key. How big their fan base is individually for them as a player is really the primary driver. And obviously, you win championships, your stock goes up, so do the value of your cards and things like that, of course. And another thing to add that's definitely secondary to those three things that Giannis mentioned. But in addition, and you mentioned scarcity, I guess, is a fourth. Something that goes along with that I think is important to talk about is also the brand equity associated with the actual products themselves. And so, there is scarcity elements, of course, in that. But if you have a brand like a Panini Prism, for example, or a National Treasures product, or something with a high value brand equity, obviously those cards are going to be more sought after by collectors and fans alike. And so that is also another factor that helps drive the value of a specific player's actual card.
Yeah, and further to the personality and performance piece, communities come together. These are talking points, and it's all at the fingertips on the computer. So people can reach this community by emailing or dropping into a hobby shop globally and having that discussion in person. We liken the industry at the current moment to physical stock and that market trend and how it's guided on basic performance day to day. We see the rise and fall of price points for player cards based on their personality choices as well as their performance. Beyond that, though, I think the global market dictates how we as an industry respond to things in life. So from my perspective, we have to take out the emotion and we have to look at how we're balancing the overall global perspective of where the share of the business needs to be. And that's based on other important data points that are just a typical day-to-day business, from a sports management business to managing stocks to managing anything else. These all are integrated in decisions that we make every day as a result of distribution, manufacturing, or even at the storefront level.
Emotion, of course, plays a huge role in the collection for everyone. You may collect exclusively the cards and jerseys of one player, and in that case, those cards will always have more value to you. What is important though is that the market value of a card is always a reflection of the player's value in his sport. For example, a Giannis Antetokounmpo card is currently worth much more than a Boban Marjanovic card. Still, Marjanovic collectors continue to seek out his cards because at the end of the day, it is and will always be about the emotion variant. Objectively, of course, the cards that have the highest market value are the cards from a player's rookie year, while if they also have their athlete's autograph on, then the amounts are astronomical. For example, a rookie card of Giannis Antetokounmpo from season 2013-2014 with his autograph on was sold for $1.8 million, exactly what Kobe's rookie card fetched, while Luka Doncic's counterpart from season 2018-2019 has broken every single record and was sold for $3.1 million. That is a nice flow that we have in our discussion that can lead us to our next topic that has to do with market trends and impact, but the current market trends. Because people will say, okay, 10 years ago, the trends were different than they are now. And I'm talking about trends that they have to do with how people, collect. They collect as a hobby, they collect to invest. And how you approach each buyer, the one that is doing it as a hobby or is doing it as an investment.
Okay, yeah, Dora, it's a good point, and it is a balance. You liken card collecting to going out and buying some potato chips, right? You have your favorite bag of potato chips you like. Do you eat other potato chips? Sure, you do, but you gravitate toward a certain kind, right? And trading cards are similar to that, in the fact that whoever's making all these cards, and you have multiple manufacturers that do, they want to cater to the hardcore fan to grow the market base. That's really key to find the fan and turn them into card collectors. And then you also have at the other end of the spectrum, card collectors that are all in. That this is where they spend all their disposable time and their income, and they're looking at it maybe from an investment standpoint, or just their own personal collection. They really value it and invest in it. So it's important for the manufacturers to really identify who their market is at each level and cater to them in a way that makes sense for the business, of course. You can't cater just to one, or else you'll lose another core group. And it's really important to find a way to feed new collectors, new users into the marketplace. And you can do that really by drawing in fans, creating a lower price point item, something that's more catered to maybe a younger fan and things like that. But those are trends that always have to be identified and really evaluated, because each category may ebb and flow in terms of its growth potential.
Yeah, and from Panini's perspective, we have several brands under our umbrella, which actually have different elements that apply to each of the consumer types. Price point is very key, David. As you said, we want to make sure there's availability at every level, both through the online channel as well as the mom and pop hobby shop, or in Trace and Chase's case, a very sophisticated studio and agency, as it seems. What's important for us is to continually look at the big picture. I would like to say that we've made great efforts in examining different data points to create these types of collections that would appeal at the store level to different consumers. But we're coming out of a period where the secondary costs to these products were driven by market demand and scarcity, as we've discussed previously. But those prices went up, although we designed those products to be at a lower cost per pack to meet a certain need. So it's been interesting to see that evolution over the period.
Starting a collection can seem complicated at first, as there are many products and different ways to collect, but trust me, it's not. Every collector is different, and it is important to ask yourself what your personal goals are. There are three different categories: pure collectors, flippers, and of course, investors. Some collect purely for the joy of the hobby. Their purpose is to collect the entire set of series, their favorite players, or their favorite teams. Others are driven only by the card's monetary value potential and aim at how to sell their cards more efficiently and expensively, the so-called flippers. Finally, some others see the hobby purely as an investment and collect cards with the logic of surplus value and with the anticipation of the development of a player that will multiply the value of the card. And of course, some people do a little bit of everything.
Our role in the supply chain and in the industry is just, we're dealing with end consumers every day, fans, collectors, the whole thing. We have a bunch of new people to the hobby, to this industry, walking through the store. My advice to everyone, and this is contrary to what Billy said a minute ago about getting the emotion out of the business. My advice is to every new person want to get involved with trading cards is, if you're not emotional about what you're about to buy, you're not going to be happy in this industry. If you just do it for the financial value, if you just do it for the money, for flipping a card from $10 to $20 the next day, you're going to get depressed in this market, because it's all about the sport. It's all about, having fun, watching the game, being proud about what you hold, not what you just sold, but what you hold in your hands. That's what makes you happy, makes you proud. Just, dibs on a unique piece, a unique item. Like, that's mine, nobody else has it. It's a one-on-one card that Panini America produced, and I have it. No one else can have it. So we saw during COVID all the trades that we just mentioned, but we also saw a huge influx of speculators or investors. They were just speculating at the time. The majority is out of the market already. The market is doing great. So what I think collectively the market achieved is to get more collectors in, or more fans in, and create more collectors. So the market is growing by the day, but I think it's growing at the right pace and with the right people throughout the supply chain. But the most important, as David mentioned, is to bring more people in. This is an industry where that exists for, these items exist for 150 years, but some people don't even know about them. And again, it's sports. It's global. So I think emotion is the key for the end consumer. And when you talk about emotion, then you're going to talk about value. You're not going to talk about price. Price is out of the equation when you talk emotion. So then it's how valuable is my favorite player to me compared to you. That you just want to throw money at me just to get this item from me. It's not for sale. It's invaluable. So I think it's all about emotion at the consumer front.
Well said from a collector and shop owner. Yeah, as an individual end consumer, though, that consumer can take the opportunity to step back and draw it back if they don't have the money or they can't afford to step up to a certain thing. I'm not going to liken that to anything because we'll go down a rabbit hole. But once you're able to dial back from a business owner like you, Giannis, and a large distribution piece like GTS, David, we have to make these decisions based off of data points. And we have to look at everything wholly, not just as a singular entity. And we have to see how that affects the business from region to region.
So before we leave this topic, because Giannis made a great point, you all made a great point about, how sports is something that is global and everyone has access to it. But that wasn't the same 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that the information was not accessible, on your screen, on your phone, so easy as it is now. So let's put all the pieces together, because it looks to me now that the information, and from my point of view as a journalist, that the information that we have now is global. now with via social media, now that the leagues are growing, back 20 years, 30 years ago, that they start collecting. I'll talk about basketball because that is my thing. I'm not able to talk about NFL or soccer, but I know back in the days we were thinking about the NBA players, some European players that they were able to join the NBA, and that was about it. Now we have another league growing. We have EuroLeague that is actually creating the first step for people to go to the NBA. So this league is growing. We have very famous players. How this connection that now we have the NBA and the second biggest league in the world, EuroLeague, has helped the people that are creating content for this industry to grow.
Yeah, well said, Dora. It's the collector needs more players, more teams, more excitement, and more leagues to help expand the business, expand their opportunities of what they collect. And so not only is it a broader spectrum when you have like a Euro League involved in trading cards, that gives a whole new fan base of collectability across the board. So you're going to gain, trading card collectors that existed that now become EuroLeague fans and are now watching players in the EuroLeague and finding all the elements that they like in their favorite NBA player, or maybe new ones and exciting ones. And so historically, we've had that. If you look back at trading cards, where they really where they had their foundation was in Major League Baseball, for example. And you saw over the evolution, the more the leagues incorporated young stars, minor league prospects, those type of things elevated the fan base's interest in finding more content about the sport itself or about what is really possible. And that also translated on the sports card aspect side, because people started looking at who's going to be the next great player, who's going to be the next great NBA player. Well, where they're going to be looking now. They're going to be looking at the EuroLeague. They're going to be looking at finding aspects of other leagues and to bring into their collectability and to really grow and expand their collection. So I think it's, you hit a really good point there. It's really critical for the evolution, not only of the leagues and the players, but also the industry of sports collecting and trading cards in general, to have a continued growth and expansion in leagues.
Yeah, and from Panini America's perspective, one of the things that I do like most about my job is working with the leagues, following their players and developing product that suits our consumer base as a result. We look at the explosion of the streaming rights for all of these leagues, NFL, NBA, EuroLeague. These are global entities that are taking their brand further and further each year. Expansion of arena-based shops to global websites to regional flagship stores. This is all branding from the perspective of these leagues needing to reach these consumers as a result of global streaming, community talking about the various sports and the key personalities in the sports. Regionally, we try to break that down and build markets around these centers that the leagues have created. But in the collectability space, we can't forget, again, the collectability part is incredibly important, because there's not always going to be a product. We make a product once a year and then it's sold out, and that player is a rookie that 1 year in most cases. But we have to continue to elevate the brand of the leagues around that. Whether we have the product and it's sold out, we have to support it on the secondary market. And I think Giannis could probably speak to that as well as anybody here. So,
yeah, guys, you brought up EuroLeague as an example. That's the newest license in Panini America's portfolio. And for us operating in Greece and Europe, this is just so exciting, because the basketball culture in Europe is huge, but that doesn't mean that everybody follows the NBA. There are tons of people that just watch EuroLeague and the local leagues. So these are fans, potential collectors, and that adds another aspect on top of what David said, that a new license will make existing collectors collect a new league, Now you have a whole continent that has deep roots in basketball, watching EuroLeague, and now there is an additional product to connect these fans with the league, with the players. And obviously, especially EuroLeague being the second biggest league in the world in basketball, it's probably the number one feeder league for the NBA. So most likely, starting in 2024, collectors are going to be looking in Panini America EuroLeague trading cards for the next Luka, for the next Giannis, for the next Jokic. So that will come from Europe and make the jump to the NBA, and it's going to be a superstar in the NBA. So it just and obviously globalization has made all that easy. The flow of information, the trend that the NBA put out there starting like 15 years ago, just, putting out all the highlights, all the videos for the world to see through social media, at the moment that everybody was holding on their rights and trying to charge money for it, the NBA put it out there for the world to watch, and it became the number one league in the world. So this flow of information just adds value to obviously what we do, what the fans see, and what the collectors appreciate.
Well said, guys. And I think we're ready for our next topic that is a little bit more complicated, but is the base of your expertise. And it might not be very approachable from a fan perspective or a collector perspective, but someone who wants to follow this as a professional, someone who wants to start his own business around collecting, this is a very interesting topic. And I'm talking about the manufacturing and distribution process. And let's start. Some of these things were already discussed and you mentioned, but let's just make a point about what factors influence, the manufacturing process and distribution channels, and what are the marketing strategies that you guys use to promote sports cards and memorabilia through the supply chain?
Wow, that's a great question. Actually, I thought we were already through that point.
I said you already mentioned some of the things, but it would be nice to have it, as a statement, because this is your expertise, and I'm sure many people that will watch this panel discussion will want to have, the basis of how can I start it? What is important to know?
Really, what's important from my perspective, managing the global outlay of customers in each region, is knowing that we have someone in the region that is responsible, looks at the sustainability of the overall business, not just for the next couple of years, but the next 5 to 10 years. And then we keep looking at it for the next 10 years after that, and the next 10 years after that, because we have to recognize the year-to-year changes. We talk about the World Wide Web becoming a thing. We talk about COVID influencing the business, but what's the next thing that's going to change how we view this? The important part for us as a manufacturer is keeping close relationships with the leagues, working on asset acquisition. That's working with the leagues, sports agents, and the players themselves. That's key day to day. We have a huge department here that goes out and tries to source that. And in a lot of ways, that's not possible unless the leagues are integral to everything we do. So we appreciate these licenses. And from the perspective of overall distribution, we have to pick what the right quantity is. Making more doesn't necessarily make the business better. We have to think of all the elements that David and Giannis have recognized from the collector perspective. And as a global distributor, GTS is the top of the chain as far as supply and support to these end consumers at the hobby level and the general channel. So I'll let David take this.
Yeah. Thanks, Billy. As a distributor, speaking from a distribution perspective, our role is really to be a gateway to bring information to the manufacturer and also communicate the manufacturer's marketing campaigns to the end consumer and evaluate supply and demand trends regional growth, things like that, of course. But really, the key to know about how all this works is really comes down to the communities that grow, whether they're online communities or ideally communities like Trace and Chase has built. So they find ways to have a global perspective, created their own brand, to be a destination for a collector. And that's really how, I would recommend those that are interested in getting into the industry, that maybe looked at it as a hobby, and want to take it to the next step, is visit the local Trace and Chase, visit the local hobby store, and talk to them about what opportunities there really are, because in this industry there are a multitude of opportunities, and more so now than ever in terms of the growth. The opportunities are endless. We're seeing more shows regionally, across every continent almost now, that we didn't see before, and the opportunities are really endless. And so as a distributor, we see all of that. We're daily talking to the manufacturers and daily talking to our customers who have the ear of the end consumer, and all of that is very important in the chain to ultimately decide what moves to make and what investments to make to help grow the category.
I can tell you one thing, knowing Billy and David for some time now, that these two guys probably get hundreds of emails every day from potential new business partners from around the world. Am I right? You do, guys, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, you can speak to that with
the demand is huge, and it doesn't really matter. I can talk about Trace and Chase in Europe. How much product will Billy or David offer me? It's going to be sold out if we want to in a day. It doesn't matter, just because we all know how to handle scarcity, the scarcity part of this business. That's essential for the long term. This being a global business, there is a lot of cross-selling across markets, across regions, that, by the way, are in different business cycles. So it's not, the US market is a totally different monster than the European market or the Asian markets. Different business cycles, different consumer preferences, different popular sports. But, at the end of the day, and I'm going to go back to the first point that David made, we have to grow our community, local, regional, even the global community with specific initiatives. So for us, it's very, very important to attract the new interest in the market, new individuals that want to collect, again, based on their league preferences, player preferences, based on emotion, based on the fact that they like sports. And it's extremely important to do that through giving back to the community, sponsoring youth teams, sponsoring or organizing the local card shows or the regional card shows, competitions and giveaways, and just sharing the happiness and the joy of being part of this hobby. I think it's a great way to attract more people in. Just showing to the people how fun it is. So this is what we do on a weekly basis here at Trace and Chase, through our CSR initiatives, sponsoring initiatives, going to the youth camps for 6 months out of the year, all summer long, organizing basketball tournaments, the whole thing, guys. So it's community building. It's just all about sharing the joy around sports.
So guys, we talked about the impact.
Fantastic. I'm sorry.
No, it was fantastic what he said.
Yeah.
Yanis, we all know Yanis. He's
Yeah.
very inspirational. He really loves what he's doing, and I know it from day one that that's why he's so successful in what he does, because he really loves what he's doing. We talked about impact of this industry. We talk about the process and the progress that this industry had within the past few years. We talked about the growth. But let's face it, guys, I'm not a business person, but I'm sure every business, every industry is facing some challenges. So what are the challenges faced by businesses within the sports cards industry?
But one of the things I think most about the people and businesses that represent Panini America globally, they are an extension of what we do. We're very careful at picking these partners, and the continued evaluation of the market is key for us. We have to make sure that they are using the best practices that have come as secondhand knowledge to them, that they've shared throughout these conferences and shows and everything else. A lot of these guys at the top that do things great, like Trace and Chase, they come together, they talk about what works and what doesn't. As a result, for us, we have a playbook of all kinds of things that may work in one territory that doesn't work in another. But we're constantly, trying to tap the different regions to see if they work. And we have to evolve as necessary. But each market, as it affects our business, as it is at different levels of maturation for the business and a hobby in general. We just have to make sure that we don't lose focus on the collectability of this. We focus on the business aspects, and that we really support what these guys do as an extension of our brand, and as well as the leagues that we represent.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it, Billy, as you did, Giannis, with the supply and demand, and Giannis, you mentioned allocations, and Billy, you mentioned putting the right amount of product in a particular region. It's very important. So when you look at challenges, that's a big one, because the manufacturer, if they produced as much as everybody wanted, it would be a lot less collectible. And so a challenge is always finding the right amount of product. You need a lot of product to grow the fan base, but a lot of product doesn't mean you grow collectability necessarily. So that's an ongoing challenge that's been around forever. And it's probably more even critical now with supply chain issues and challenges there. As a distributor, we're at the mercy of what the manufacturer can produce to what we can offer our products. And so forth. Same thing with Giannis. Trace and Chase would like to offer everything to their customers that they deserve, but it's a collectible, so it doesn't really work that way. I think probably the biggest challenge right now, outside of those more tactical things that you have to look at every day, and things that you're constantly evaluating about your business, I think the big challenge right now is economic, in terms of how do people fit card collecting into their lifestyle. And we saw during COVID that we took a really big boost in terms of how it fit into people's lifestyle. We saw a lot of growth. Well, you could look at trading cards as having several super cycles within its 150 years, and you could really identify those. And we are now not necessarily at the front end of the super cycle. We're probably at a place where, like Giannis said, a lot of people came in, invested a lot of money, and they may be out. What we have to do is we're challenged, and one of the things we're always challenged with is, where to put the dollars into the marketplace that have a long-lasting effect of growth. And I think that's the overall challenge when you say, what is the biggest challenge? That is the biggest challenge, because, I'm sure Trace and Chase has customers that come in and say, hey, I want to buy everything. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. Well, that's not responsible. And same thing, if we went to Panini and said, we want everything you make, that's not responsible. And Panini says, we're going to give everybody everything they want. That's not responsible. So to me, the biggest challenge is managing that aspect to where you have a product that people want at a level that's both encouraging the fan base and also encouraging collectability.
Yeah, I totally agree. For us, it's always a challenge to get more access to product. And Billy knows that, David knows that. We talk regularly about more and more product, but I'm pretty sure that you guys know better how to manage supply of product and the regions, and obviously the local market. So I totally trust you in that. Our biggest challenge day to day is to represent the whole supply chain behind us. properly. And at the end, we need to just promote the leagues and the athletes. All of us are just in the middle of a very emotional, I'm going to say again, connection between athletes and fans. This is what all the hype is about. Hype for the superstars, hype for a championship, hype for around the discussion, who is the GOAT in every sport, hype for a new prospect. All of us, we're just making that connection. We're just delivering trading cards and memorabilia from players to fans. And building that community step by step, day by day, and creating those bonds is what will guarantee long-term success for everybody. We cannot do it without the help of distribution and production. So I'm truly blessed to be in this panel with you guys and to do business with you daily. But it's all about, at the end of the day, the athletes involved and their fan base. Nothing more than that.
Well, I'm sorry, Giannis, but Dora mentions the challenges and the opportunities. Things like words like love and fun have come up in our conversation today. But what hasn't been mentioned is the hard work that goes into it from both the distribution and the street level with Giannis's business. Fun and love is great, but it's really hard work, and they're taking a large risk. And Dora, when you ask about how new people can come into the industry and take this on as a business, they have to recognize there are challenges, but there's people like these guys and their businesses that are there to help them, that have a long history in branding, in distribution, and in just general business sense. Giannis could tell stories for days about how he has customers that have certain challenges at a different level, but I'll leave that for him to talk about. But again, fun and love, those are fantastic aspects of what we do, but it's the hard work that pays off, and it's the hard work that keeps the sustainability part of this industry moving forward.
Yep.
And I think what you just said, Billy, talked about the opportunities. And since we're talking about growth, and Yanis is a perfect example of, how someone can start this as a business. But I'm sure everyone who will attend this panel is interested about the same thing. And your expertise is valuable in your opinion. So I left this, as a last question, because it's very important to look at the future. And I want your opinion on the opportunities for growth. Do we see opportunities for growth when it comes to, the international markets? What it needs to be done? What it needs to be, improved? Where do we look at when we think about growth and innovation?
100% yes, Dora. The opportunity for growth is enormous. The market itself can grow exponentially. We're just tapping into certain regions globally that, like Giannis said, didn't even know what a trading card was, a year ago or a few months ago. And now, not only do they know what they are, they're attending shows, they're going to card stores, they're building communities around card collecting. And so we're seeing things that globally that we saw in the infancy of trading card collecting decades ago. And we're seeing it at a rapid pace. So as far as growth opportunity goes, it's really endless. And like you mentioned, the addition of a league only creates another level of collectability and collector base that would exist. So 100% yes. My role at GTS is to help find where those opportunities are globally. And I have plenty of work to do, because opportunities exist all around the globe, and they're popping up all the time. In Europe right now is a hotbed for growth, primarily driven by both soccer and basketball markets, especially. So we're looking forward to a lot more growth. And to me, it's another chance to enjoy another level of this industry, and it motivates me every day to keep doing what I do.
And I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy your next trip to Greece too.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I'm
100%.
sorry to admit that I just come for the food, Giannis.
You're
Yeah,
welcome
so
anytime, every time.
yeah, but further to David's point, opportunity exists globally, especially in Europe. We look at the consumption cycle from a higher level that begins with singles and moves on to packs and moves on to boxes and in cases, given wherever we are in the cycle. Um, when you look at those categories, you break it down to each level of consumer. So there's opportunity in all of that because some people may only want to deal with singles and sell those on other selling platforms online. A lot of businesses like Giannis have made a full-time business out of just selling singles. Um, the collector may move to a pack or a box mentality, however their finances dictate, like David mentioned. But again, the cause and effect comes into play at every step, and we just have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. I just want to say as an example of opportunities and growth potential, let's look at soccer. Soccer used to be just stickers and albums from the 60s onwards. And then you got World Cup trading cards. Billy, correct me if I'm wrong. First it was World Cup, and then it was Premier League trading cards. And now you have Bundesliga, La Liga, and Serie A, and MLS. So that was the evolution for soccer. Same is happening with basketball. It was just the NBA. Now you're going to see EuroLeague. You have Australian Basketball League cards. Or you're going to see probably, I don't know, another league pop up. And these are just the mainstream sports that we know. What's the deal with cricket in India?
One of the largest sports globally.
Exactly. So as we move forward, producers are going to definitely evaluate opportunities based on followers, based on viewership, and market size. And trust me, if you just think about the global sports scene, the possibilities right now are endless. We're just at the beginning, as just David said.
And I couldn't agree more, Yanis, with what you just said in the end, that the possibilities are endless. Because to end this panel, I just want to say that to me, no matter if you're doing this as a hobby, if you're doing it as an investment, or if you're doing this as a business owner, all these three roles have one thing in common. You have to love sports, and you have to love the stories behind the card, the soccer ball, the jersey. You have to love the story. And it's our job, me as a journalist, to be the vehicle for this story based on how I write it or I present it through a video. To you guys, it's how you promote this item, how you sell this item, exposing the story, not only the person who wore this jersey. And, loving sports, I think, is the number one thing that you need to have as an essential to either start this as a hobby, as an investment, or as a business. And I think it becomes more and more attractive the more technology evolves and we have more access to all the leagues and the players and their stories. And I think what you guys are doing, it's complex, it's not easy to do, yet is a really, it's fun because we're talking about sports. So you combine, the complexity of business with fun. And I think this is amazing. This is very attractive for someone who wants to start this.
I think we're all blessed just being here and
Yes.
doing what we're doing. So
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, this has been a fantastic industry to be a part of. Given my background, it was a nice transition for me, and I can't thank these guys enough because they've been a key part of it.
So I would like to thank you guys for participating in this panel. It was an honor to meet all of you. I know I've been working a lot with Yanis. Maybe we can work with the rest of you within the next years. I'm very happy that I'm working with people that they love what they do and they love sports, because I love sports and I love basketball particularly a lot. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having this wonderful conversation and making, the sports card industry and memorabilia even more attractive by what you said.
Thank you,
Thank
Dora.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.